Well, hello, folks. It's Jason C. Scott here with the Veterans Financial Edge. This week is episode 4, titled What Makes Jason Tick? As I said at the very beginning when I started this podcast, some weeks I would have guests on there, which we've had some very powerful guests here in the last couple weeks. This week, though, there's just been stuff that's been bothering me literally over the last couple weeks, actually a little bit longer, probably say for the last 4 years, but it's just come to a culminating head in the last couple of weeks that I wanted to discuss on today's episode. So we're just going to dive right in, right? One of the biggest issues, and again, I look at my notes here, guys, because I like to be prepared. One of the biggest things bothers me right now is the insane amount of distrust in the world. Now, whether it's through politics, whether it's through your industry. I mean, I'm even seeing it in my industry on the lending side, right? Things that literally make very good common sense. I mean, it's simple math, simple numbers, and people are so distrustful. And I don't know how we got here. People not truly listening to the truth and just kind of, I don't know if it's passive listening or what. I've proclaimed this many times. I'm not the smartest guy out there. I surround myself with very intelligent people. However, I am somewhat of an intelligent guy. I run my own business, have run it very successful for 12 years. But I do believe I have a great deal of common sense that has served me well in my current industry, as well as the 20 years I served in the military. And I have a very hard time understanding how people with even a little bit of common sense can see what is being put out there, whether it's the fake news or social media, and come up with the decisions that they come up with. It's going back to the election. Like I said, you can vote for whoever you want, right? That's your right. It's just maybe it's my age, maybe being at age 51, maybe having multiple grandchildren and children that I take it more seriously now than I guess I did when I was younger. But even when I voted when I was younger, to me, it was never a popularity contest. I've always been a very pragmatic person, and I tried to weigh the pros and the cons. And if I didn't understand it, I would try to reach out to other people and say, hey, what do you think? What do you gather about? However, that's even becoming more difficult now because there's so many people that are just on one side or the other, and they're just not willing to communicate and have a good, healthy debate. And it's weird because, when we went to go vote this year, it was myself, my wife, and my 2 boys and one of my son's boyfriend. On the way there, first off, one of my sons, I had no idea that he was going to even vote. I'll be honest with you. That's not normally his cup of tea. So I was very shocked, surprised, and proud that he had done some research and was actually excited to go out and vote. Our other son knew he was going to vote. He's he's an engineer. That was never going to be an issue. And then the fact that his boyfriend came along, who also, keep in mind, is a liberal, right? So you have a liberal, actually you have 2 liberals in the car. My one son that I said would never vote, and the boyfriend of our son that does vote. And then you have 2 conservatives, my wife and I, which I don't think that we're completely conservative because we're kind of more center mass, but center right leaning. And then our other son, who I don't think he has a political camp either way because he likes to weigh each option and then vote accordingly. So on the way to the voting center, we were all pretty much set on who we were going to vote for at the national level. We were really having healthy discussions about some of the measures and bills that were up for vote for our state, because this is our first year being able to vote in the state of Colorado, where we've literally voted in Hawaii for the last 12. And I caught myself during the conversation that some of my decisions early on were based off of personal biases versus actually looking at it from an analytical or pragmatic approach. And it was really cool because my son Brad, on the way there is he's like, so Jay, why did you, decide to vote this way? And, I said my thing, and he goes, well, have you thought about it this way? And then, and I was just like, wow. So he actually, through this healthy conversation, he actually changed my mind on a couple issues, right? A couple I was like, buddy, I'm sorry, I have to agree to disagree. Personal biases aside, I think personally that this is the way. I didn't want to say you were wrong. I just said, I think this is the way from my experience in this field, right? It was awesome. I mean, and I had this epiphany. I was like, man, could you imagine if the entire country could actually do that? Instead of saying, well, if you vote for this person, you're dead to me, right? Like, what does that solve? Nothing, right? It just creates more animosity, more distrust, right? Which is crazy because I was raised, very poor, but my father had some good sage advice back then that said, through your life, you'll have multiple friends. If you're lucky, you'll be able to count your close friends on one finger, one hand, but you always have your family, no matter what your disagreements or agreements are, you still have family. And we live in a society where that doesn't even take the cake anymore. I mean, people literally are disowning their family. And it bugs me the amount of distrust. It's just horrible. Go back to my earlier statement in regards to, in my industry, distrust. I personally, out of all my core values, integrity is the one I hold most dear. That's the silver bullet that once you blow it, you can't ever get it back. Or if you can, it's kind of like trust. It's a long, hard road. So I never want to have my integrity questioned or challenged, nor will I put my integrity in a position to be questioned or challenged. So when I work so hard to develop the relationships that I have with my clients, because to me, it is a relationship. It's not just a transaction. To get a questioning, the overall result, it almost feels like an attack on my integrity, where I've never come from a position of selling. In fact, I've told many people that, hey, this is probably not the right time to refinance for you. It doesn't make sense mathematically, because this is the one type of job that I can do where math is king. 2 + 2 = 4. It's never going to be 3. It's never going to be 5, right? So have this guy reach out and, he was questioning like, well, does it make sense to do the refi? We're only saving X amount of dollars. So I was like, at first I was a little like, are you serious? Now, granted, that was a question he gave me through email. So I was like, all right, let's think on this. What is it that I'm not doing to make him feel confident in his decision? So I go back to basics. I pull up a 30-year amortization calculator. I put in his current loan information versus the future loan information. I put the current payment versus the future payment. And then I circle back to our original conversation saying, hey, bud, if you remember, you came to me saying, hey, I'm actually comfortable with my current payment, but I see rates have dropped. Does it make sense to take advantage of that? And then I said, well, yes, that's the best time to do it, because you don't need cash out. You're not trying to consolidate debt. You're just trying to take advantage of the rate market that you're in. So if you're comfortable with this current payment, whatever the new payment is, disregard that, keep making the same payment with the new interest rate, and you'll pay your loan off faster. But he forgot that conversation. So pulled up the amortization calculator, put in the 2 scenarios, and I said, okay, Bubba, if you don't refinance and you keep your current payment, you'll pay this loan off in 29 years and 3 months. I go, however, if you use my strategy and apply it, you'll pay this loan off in 17 years. Once I did that, I said, and of course I ended the conversation saying, hey, like I've always said, I don't have to sell anything. It's just math. The numbers make sense. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this. And then I sent it off. And within 10 minutes, he replied, he's like, Jay, thank you so much. I'm sorry for being a pain in the ass. I don't even know why I question you. And I just replied, hey, brother, that's what I'm here for. No bother at all. So the moral of this story is obviously it wasn't so much that he was distrustful of me, but I didn't give him enough information, even though I'd already had the relationship and this is a repeat client, to continue that trust, right? And I think when we look at the macro of what we see on TV, what we're bombarded with on social media, news, I don't even have cable news anymore, guys. I stopped that literally years ago during the first Trump run-up. I got so sick of it, I just couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch Fox. I couldn't watch MSNBC or CNN because none of them were truly fair and balanced. They each had their own agenda. It drove me bananas. In fact, I would have to go to Rutgers, or not Rutgers, but Ruger's or Alibaba. I'd have to go to a news agency outside the U.S. just to see if they were reporting it differently, which they don't even do that anymore. So believe it or not, though, social media, YouTube, some of the people that I like that are fair and balanced, that call it no matter what, this guy right here, Patrick Bet David, right? This guy's a beast. I don't think anybody knows truly what political side he's on. He's just about business, and he does it in a pragmatic way. I love listening to him, his panel that he has on his podcast, the guests that he brings on board. I mean, and he brings people from both sides. It's amazing. In fact, his own panel has people that are conservatives and people that are Democrats, right? So it's a truly fair and balanced conversation. Another person I really enjoy, Tucker Carlson. My wife and I went and saw him in person when they came here on his Road Across America tour, and he was with Tulsi Gabbard. I know Tulsi Gabbard personally. We lived in Hawaii for 12 years. As I was exiting military service, she was, the new Dem, but was also a National Guard major at the time there in Hawaii. And because of my influence in the military community, our paths had crossed many times and we knew each other personally, and just a great person, a great free thinker, very pragmatic. Another person that I love to watch, Joe Rogan, believe it or not. Say what you will. He started off as a comic, did Fear Factor, UFC, but I think he has the number one podcast in like 95 countries. 95 countries. Holy cow. Because he comes from an independent thought process. And he's the first to admit he is not the smartest guy on the show. I mean, he's had people like Neil deGrasse Tyson. I believe that's who the guy is, the wicked smart dude that, I don't know if you guys figured this out about me. I love watching intellectual people. Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, right? People that can articulate thought in a consistent manner that's easily digestible by the masses. Now, granted, you might be saying Elon Musk does not articulate. Actually, he does. Yes, he does use vernacular and terms that you may not understand, but that should motivate you to actually go and read. Hey, what does that word mean? That's just me, my quest for learning. But the way that these people think, they're at least 5 to 10 moves ahead, right? They're not just right in front of their face. I love people like that. It's one of the traits that drives my wife bonkers is I'm a 1,000-meter target guy. You've got the 50 meter, the 100, the 300, the 500, and the 1,000 meter, to use military terms. And I'm always thinking about that 1,000-meter target. And it drives her bonkers because she's always like, well, what about the 50-meter target? Because in my mind, I've already processed all the scenarios. The 50-meter target's already taken care of. But most people have to go step by step, right? My wife is one of those very process-oriented people. She has to go step by step. It's hard for her to visualize the 1,000-meter target. But all these people that I've mentioned so far, they're very 1,000-meter target people. They haven't dismissed the 50-meter target. They've just already seen it, identified it, came up with a solution and said, okay, what are the second, third, and fourth order effects due to these type of discussion or decisions, one way or the other. And what kills me about is these people that I watch, they're not trying to convince people to go one way or the other. Now, granted, Tucker does do a very good job of trying to convince people to his way of thinking. But at least he still reports it real, right? He's not afraid to throw shade on either side if they screw stuff up. Another person, this may surprise you, I started watching Bill Maher again. And I'll be honest, for the longest time, I couldn't stand him because all he wanted to do on every episode was just destroy Trump when Trump was first in office. And it just got annoying. Seriously. But within the last, I would say 6 to 9 months, he stopped focusing on destroying Trump and started identifying like, holy shit, there's more here. And he's a true liberal, right? But he's not a far left, crazy radical liberal. He's like, I am still the same liberal I was 30 years ago, which is interesting because now he's like saying, look, the Democrats failed miserably. Here's why. You guys are way the fuck out there. And I don't know if I get in trouble for swearing or not on this shit, whether YouTube will shadow ban me or not, but I really don't give a fuck because that's how I am. I'm very passionate. But I even started watching some of his stuff because now, do I agree with him all the way? No, not at all. But Patrick Bet-David brings it up. He watches and reads people that even he doesn't agree with because he wants to see how they think and see how they are as a human being. And I think that is part of our biggest problem nowadays is that we're so polarized. We're so convinced that our way is right or their way is wrong that we take that human being element out of it and we no longer see people as human beings. So I like the way that he goes with that. So I wouldn't say forcing, but pushing myself to start watching more on why the other side thinks about what they do, right? Just to kind of get an idea and to see whether or not I would even like them as a human being. So yes, I tried watching The View. Yeah, that failed miserably. I don't think there's a single person on that panel that I would like as a human being. They just spew so much hate. I tried watching, what's it called? The Cup of Joe or Morning Joe. Same thing. I'm just like, gosh dang, you guys just, your whole process is just about being condescending, that you're the elite, that you're smarter than everybody else. And if you go this way, you're wrong. And I just don't like that. And I think there's a growing majority or population of folks, I think, that believe the same way I do, that they want to take their blinders off from whatever camp that they're on, left or right. And they're just tired of the straight negative, shade throwing, mudslinging crap. And they just want to listen to people that are intelligent and have a good, healthy debate. And I really hope that we get back to that. Anyway, that's it for this week. Like I said, if it was just myself, I would try not to ramble on more than 15 minutes because I know that would be a long time for anybody. Let me know what your thoughts or comments are. You know, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you're watching on Spotify, let me know what you think. And if you want to be a guest on the show, yeah, let's do it, man. I don't care what you do in your walk of life. All that I ask is that whatever you do in your walk of life, part of that is serving others, right? I have no problem highlighting your successes and who you are and what you've done and what you've become. But really what gets me going, what gets me excited is interviewing people that have not only attained that, but also are doing things to help make other people better than themselves. That's it for this week. Hope to see you again next week. Take care and aloha.